Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the international conference. Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the International Independence Day celebrations and international conference on occasion of 78th Independence Day and 77th anniversary of India's independence and 5th National Social Work Week, 15 to 21st August 2024, organized by NAPSWI and Azadi commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 77 years of independence and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Art, Sciences and Well-being. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's commemorations. We request all those presenters who have registered for the presentations are kindly requested to share your details in the format available on the screen so that we can invite you after commemorations. Today, we are commemorating World Mosquito Day. More than just annoying summertime pests, and not only now, it is a season that, especially in rainy and winter season, mosquitoes are also responsible for spreading malaria, a disease that kills over 500,000 people every year. When Ronald Ross discovered that mosquitoes transmit malaria in 1897, he revolutionized our understanding of the disease and led to increased awareness about malaria prevention. Today, the best way to prevent the disease is to avoid bites by infected mosquitoes. Insecticide treated nets, preventive treatment for pregnant women and infants, and indoor residual spraying are all ways to reduce transmission. But the prevalence of mosquitoes in hard hit areas like sub Saharan Africa pose a challenge to eradication measures. Mosquitoes are those tiny blood sucking insects which are responsible for transmitting serious diseases such as malaria. With no vaccine currently available, malaria, an ancient disease that began afflicting humans from the beginning of agriculture and modern civilization, remains a deadly threat to people around the world. Caused by Plasmodium parasites, malaria shows up around historic text as far as back as the first millennium BC. In fact, the first traces of malaria parasites were found in mosquito remains that are over 30 million years old. Malaria has affected every continent except Antarctica and remains a widespread problem in parts of the world, including sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, and Caribbean. Over 200 million people are still contract malaria each year. In 2010, 90% of malaria deaths occurred in Africa. The World Health Organization reports concerns about drug-resistant malaria, which can hamper the efforts to reduce the spread of the disease. Malaria has affected including sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, and the Caribbean. Over 200 million people still contract malaria each year. In 2010, 90% of malaria deaths occurred in Africa. The World Health Organization reports concerns about drug-resistant malaria, which can hamper efforts to reduce the spread of the disease. World Mosquito Day honors the date when Sir Ronald Ross, a British Army surgeon working in India, proved that mosquitoes transmit malaria by identifying pigmented malaria parasites in mosquitoes that fed on infected patients. This discovery revolutionized our knowledge of the disease and led to the new preventive measures. Ross won the Nobel Prize for Physiology or Medicine in 1902. Ross declared the first Mosquito Day then and there, stating that the world must be made aware of the link between mosquitoes and malaria. Although an improved understanding of the disease has led to more innovative preventive measures and medical treatments, the malaria vaccine remains elusive. The disease, malaria, arrives in Rome, makes its way to Europe like traveling down the Nile to the Caribbean and spreading north in 1st century CE. After malaria decimated the population, Rome's Campania region remained sparsely settled until as late as 19th century, and malaria epidemic devastates Roman Campania in 79 CE. Ronald Ross discovers the link between female mosquitoes and malaria transmission, leading to a new understanding of how to track and stop the spread of the disease. In 1897, the Appalachian region of the US Southeast was deeply affected by malaria until the Tenis Valley Authority brought power, water, and sanitation to the region in 1930s. The Center for Disease Control, CDC, prevention, born from a pre-organization called Malaria Control in war areas, MCWA, focuses heavily on controlling and eliminating malaria in its first few years in 1946. So why do female anopheles bite humans? The females of those species pick up the parasite from infected people when they bite to obtain blood needed to nurture their eggs. The female Anopheles mosquito is the only mosquito to transmit malaria, usually between the hours 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. and 5 a.m. So they are night workers. A single mosquito bite can cause malaria from an infected mosquito. Even a single mosquito bite once can also cause malaria. So it doesn't, you don't need a lot of bites. So team up with local non-profit or start your own event to raise money for anti-malaria efforts and donate the money to an organization that distributes nets, supports communities with medication and treatment, or works on vaccine and treatment research efforts. Learn more about how malaria spreads, where it is most prevalent, and how to protect yourself if you live in or travel in at-risk area. Malaria can affect anyone in many parts of the world, so it's important that people have accurate information about the disease. Finding some useful information from reputable organizations who share on social media is a great option. Mosquitoes are the deadliest animal. Mosquitoes cause more deaths than any other animal on earth. When they are trying to reproduce, female mosquitoes need to feed on blood for the protein. Males and female mosquitoes not trying to produce eggs subsist on flower nectar. Male and female mosquitoes synchronize their wing beats with their mates, and unlike most bugs, mosquitoes aren't attracted to light but to carbon dioxide. This gives them the indication that a mammal with tasty blood is nearby. The sharp proboscis that mosquitoes use to draw blood has inspired the design of improved, less painful hypodermic needles used in medicine. So thanks to mosquitoes for this development and motivation by which we are inspired for this painful, less painful hypodermic needles. Malaria is a common disease and can show up practically anywhere. It is important to know how it is transmitted when you are at risk and how to protect yourself. Without a vaccine, malaria still ravages populations around the world. Research organizations are working constantly to find a vaccine and improve treatment. Although there's a long way to go before the disease is eradicated, medical science breakthroughs have led to the improvement of treatments for patients, better prevention measures, and a stronger understanding of the disease and its vectors. Today is also commemorated as anniversary of the revolution of the king and the people in Morocco. The anniversary of the revolution of king and the people is on August 20 in Morocco, a day symbolizing the country's heroic struggle for self-determination from colonial rule. At its heart, this story is about enduring bond between a beloved king and his people. It was a bond that turned into a catalyst for revolution as the king and people united against brutal French imperialism. August 20 is more than just a remembrance. It is the anniversary of liberated Morocco and the beginnings of modernity, development, and democracy. The rise of nationalism rarely takes place overnight, and for Morocco, it was long time coming. It all began in 1912 when the North African country signed an agreement with France and Spain. The agreement smacked French colonial ambitions. Although Morocco didn't realize the extent then, the promise Moroccan sovereignty under the guise of being a French protectorate. So, what followed was 44 years of colonization. Moroccan sovereignty and identity suffered under French colonial rule. Colonial abuse of power depleted the country's natural resources, almost annihilating Morocco's rich culture and history. But the Moroccan spirit stayed undefeated. Colonial oppression only only strengthened national identity and lit the embers of justice and democracy. The national crisis united Morocco people who stood together to defy French authority. Many rebelled and took up arms. Revolution first broke out in Fez and spread like a wildfire throughout the country. The French crackdown on the resistance was brutal. Soon, the then king, Mohammed V, became a symbol of hope for Morocco. He advocated passionately to abolish the Proctorate agreement in favor of independence. With every speech and public address, his status as people's king grew stronger. Threatened by the king's influence and legitimate claim to rule Morocco, the French made several attempts to oust him. On August 20, 1953, French military forces presented an order that removed King Mohammed V from the throne. France severely underestimated the people's love for the king and was wholly unprepared for what came next. A day that was supposed to be a blow to Moroccan pride turned into rousing calls for revolution. Thousands of Moroccans took to the streets in anger to support their king and fight for self determination. The French faced strikes, protests, and demonstrations, the beginnings of a powerful resistance that eventually freed Morocco from colonial rule and reinstated Mohammed V as the rightful owner. Colonialism digs deeper. Despite fighting for France in World War II, Moroccans suffered greatly under French colonial rule in 1945. So the present ruler of Morocco is King Mohammed VI. He belongs to Alaout dynasty and has ruled Morocco since 1999. After the end of French colonial rule, King Mohammed V returned to power in 1955. He suppressed several insurgencies and bridged the divide between Arabs and Berbers. Morocco follows a parliamentary constitutional monarchy, while the prime minister is the head of the government and the king exercises the ultimate authority over the legislative system. He also shares executive powers with the prime minister. So the country might be over 1,200 years old, but the stories of the land are much older. Several ancient dynasties have called Morocco home, from Phoenicians and Romans to Berbers and Arabs. So transport yourself to Morocco's souls and spice markets without ever leaving home. Sip on Morocco mint tea if you are feeling ambitious. Whip up a Dutch dinner for friends. The city's buildings are made from striking red clay. That's why it is known as Red City. It is common to hear people speak Arabic, French, and Moroccan Berber in the streets of Marrakech, where people are trilingual. Yes, Saint Laurent's love affair with the Marrakech began in the beautiful gardens of the Jardin Majorum. There are palm trees everywhere around the city, inside it, and often growing in unusual locations, such as inside buildings, as cutting palm trees is illegal. In 2012, Marrakech and Scottsdale, Arizona officially became sister cities due to similarities in climate, topography, and golf management. Today is also commemorated as Hungary National Day in Hungary. As this month has a lot of nations that got their independence. So no one's working. Offices and universities are shut. It's silent, but still brimming with life because today is the country's founding day. The day celebrates numerous people and events that helped create Hungary as we know it today. Fireworks, ceremonies, and flags abound. But what are the origins of this day? Depending on who you speak with, there could be numerous interpretations. August 20 has multiple meanings for people in Hungary. You will find that people generally commemorate it as state foundation. The story begins with Saint Stephen, the first state founder and Hungarian king after he died in 1038. Saint Stephen became the first canonized saint. His reign marked an era of transformation in Hungary as the people converted to Christianity under his leadership. He believed it would strengthen Hungarian identity and pride. For those reasons and more, Saint Stephen is considered the founder of Hungary. Besides national pride, the day is also really has religious significance. Since Saint Stephen was both a political leader and a canonized saint, Catholics in Hungary organize various masses to celebrate the Hungary's first patron saint. The day also marks beginning of the festival of new bread. Festivities typically involve blessing, baking, slicing a fresh loaf of bread. The ceremony is widely popular across Hungary and even in nearby Transylvania. Most people wear a set of green, red, and white ribbons. These three color ribbons have deep meanings and symbolism. In fact, they are as old as the country itself. Historically, Hungary's leaders have used these colors to bring people together. According to the constitution, red stands for strength, green symbolizes for hope, and white denotes rational pride and elegance. State celebrations mark the day by state celebrations mark the day by hoisting the national flag, followed by cake carving. Afterward, the state distributes awards to the country's most accomplished and dedicated citizen. August 20 has a special role in Hungarian history, a day that sets the stage for a unified and stronger state. It is also commemorated as National Radio Day in US on August 20. So we can reach out on all frequencies for national radio. Radio was once one of the most incredible technologies on earth used by militaries and governments. So today we rely more heavily on the internet and television for what we once relied on radio. Radio is far from dead and increasingly appreciated for its vintage and fantastic content. Though we typically attribute the invention of radio to Guglielmo Marconi in the 1890s, Nikola Tesla was reportedly first to demonstrate radio in 1890. Nonetheless, the progress spanned decades, with many scientists making small, significant contributions to the understanding of electromagnetic induction, electric conduction, and radio waves. The example Heinrich Rudolf Hertz discovered radio waves in 1880s, which helped prove a theory of electromagnetism put forth by James Clerk Maxwell in 1870s. It took quite a bit of time after the discovery of radio for technology to be used as communication. This was both because the inventors hadn't yet realized the practical and life-changing applications of the development, and because there were more components needed to transmit and detect electrical waves. Public radio broadcasting has its own inventor, and that's Lee De Forest. He transmitted the first public radio broadcast, which featured the voices of opera stars in 1990. De Forest Radio Telephone Company went to manufacture the first commercial radios, which could pick up a signal from miles away. Obviously, radio was a huge for music and changed the landscape of the industry immediately. News took to the radio as well as announcers could quickly hop on air to deliver the happenings of the day to raise massive audience. The first radio news program was broadcast on August 31st, 1920, out of Detroit, at a situation that survives today as worldwide radio. In the early 20th century, radio also began to use for broadcasting sports, aiding telephone services, and even navigating by airplane. So, when the digital revolution and wireless era, radio changed and adapted. Today, through radio is used for a variety of functions. It is no longer holds its former top spot in entertainment and in media with television and internet and more. It's hard for radio to compete in that space, but people still love it, and it doesn't look like radio is going away anytime soon. In fact, we appreciate radio even more these days for its old school vintage. So Nikola Tesla comes up with an early design for a radio long before Marconi gets his handles on the technology in 1892, proving it's more than a medium to broadcast sporting events and news. Radio serves the United States as President Roosevelt holds radio fireside chats to help lead the nation through the FM radio makes its first appearance 1939. The first online radio station, Radio HK, is born, and Radio Online in 1990. Many radio stations celebrate this day in their own way. Check out your favorite local station to see how you can get involved in the festivities. We all have a favorite radio station. You know, that one you just knows. To promote your favorite station, donate to your local station in the form of time, resources, or monetarily. Pick up a personal radio. AM stands for amplitude modulation and FM stands for frequency modulation. Now you can see on radio, it is marked as AM band, FM band. Did you know that radio stations west of Mississippi River uses K as the first letter in their call signs, while those in the east use W? For 62% of shoppers, they have been listening to the radio just 14 minutes before heading in the store. So that's an advertising opportunity. 71% of people surveyed, that's more than two-thirds, say they listen to radio in their car. Do you? So it was a life-changing technology, though today radio is great for busting and daily commute blues, keeping us up on the news and preventing us from drifting off during road trips. It was once life-changing technology. Radio globally changed the way So with this, we shall end today's commemorations. So any presenters willing to share your presenters who are registered for this conference can share the details, like name of the presentation, parameter, the college, university, agriculture. If there are no presentations, then we will conclude it today now, and we shall move on for further sessions. Tomorrow will be the last day, so we request everyone to quickly utilize this opportunity to make presentations and participations. So we request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form that has been raised in the form of polls. And see you all tomorrow at the same time at 6 o'clock. Same joining link with different commemorations. Take care. Good night. Before leaving, make sure you are filling up the feedback form, and those who have filled up the feedback form can leave the platform.